Bonaparte's Eastern Empire. This is a two-player game, also suitable for solo play if you're playing two-handed, and it is about, Napoleon's expedition in Egypt. As you can already see from the cover, all of the art comes from caricature from the time, and the same is on the board, and the same, I don't know, the board is from a caricature, but definitely illustrations on the board are, and all of the illustrations on the game pieces are. And I'm not sure that I like that too much, but that's the general idea. So we're about Napoleon here on one side. One side will take the side of Napoleon and the French, trying to take control of as much of this area as possible, of key locations on the map, and the other side plays the Allies. We got Nelson there and some British units, and then we have Bedouins that are kind of non-playing characters. You place them there, they will irritate the French, reduce their glory, but not much else, and then natural game pieces representing Mamluks and Ottoman commanders, Ottoman forces, and the idea is that the commanders are represented by named game pieces that will go on the board, as you see there. I'm placing things kind of randomly on the board, okay? Don't quote me on that. And then you have player aids that you will use to place the accompanying elements. So you can place here the units that actually go there, and here you have game pieces representing various units. All that matters is the number of strength points that they have and the illustration that tells you their infantry, cavalry, and also there are some artillery pieces, not many. Also, the player aid here, on top of giving you places to place the units, shows you the line of command. Actually, it's even better if you see it here on the French command display, and so you're gonna have a game piece representing the commander that goes on the board, and another game piece representing the same commander on this track here, representing how many glory points the commander has. You spend glory points to reroll dice of your own and or to force the opponent to reroll dice. On top of that, again, you have the chain of command so that you can detach commanders, so that at some point I can take, this would be what that looks like at the beginning, I can take Kleber from there if I decide to detach him from Napoleon. I gave him some troops, and then I roll the dice, and that tells me how many glory points he has at the beginning. For Kleber, it would be 14 plus 4 d6s. And then I place a marker on the corresponding space on the glory track, and then add the marker on the board in the area where I detached him. Maybe I detach him for Napoleon there. And later, maybe again, he can detach somebody else, and so on and so forth. So definitely the emphasis here is on the commanders. Now, as I grow old, I am more and more reluctant to learn long rule sets and to learn new word game rules and mechanics. I'm like, give me some hexes, a zone of control, and a combat table based on ratio, and we're good to go. This system here has some ideas that I've never seen before, but they work particularly well because there's one leading idea that is applied to pretty much everything. The idea is for pretty much everything that you will attempt, you will roll a certain number of dice, you will then spend glory points from commanders involved to get rerolls or to force rerolls on the opponent, and at the end, when all is said and done, all 5 and 6 are hits, are successes. So right now, I rolled that I had 3 successes there. Very often you only need 1. For example, you see all of these numbers on the map. When you're trying to move, suppose Napoleon is here, when you're trying to move out of an area with a number, which is every area, you will roll a number of dice equal to the number of the area. For example, I'm moving out of 3, right there, I roll 3 dice. I can spend rerolls, and if the end I have at least one success, then I can move. Otherwise I'm stuck and I have to place a momentum marker there. The momentum marker indicates I cannot activate the space again for the rest of the turn. Also, you have a limited number of markers. The number is determined randomly at the beginning of a turn. Guess what? By rolling 4 dice, and you get a momentum marker per success. So if this will begin of the turn, I will get 1 momentum, so I get to activate that one. However, suppose that I was successful and I could move. I go there, I have to roll dice to see the effect of that, but then I'm trying to move out of there. I roll dice, I can, then I'm gonna go there. I roll only 2. And I can keep moving, and look at me, now I am doing battle there. So when you activate a space, you can keep moving and possibly trigger and continue attack until you fail to move, and then you have to spend the momentum marker. Or you start a siege and you launch an assault, then you have to stop right there, you cannot fight multiple battles. Or I fight a battle and I'm forced to retreat, then also costs me to get spend a momentum marker. So sometimes you can march a lot and attack a lot if you are lucky. That's the general idea for movement. However, going back a little bit to the beginning, the game actually starts with Napoleon's fleet trying to get to Egypt and with Nelson trying to intercept it. And the game is divided into 3 phases, 2.5 maybe. The first phase is the approach, then there is a mini phase, but really just a procedure to determine the debarkation details, and then Napoleon should be on land here. Napoleon will try to take control of as many areas as possible while the Allies are trying to stop him and prevent him. And maybe Napoleon will win a stunning immediate victory by taking control of pretty much every significant location on the map, or you can go until the Allies also have an instant conditional victory, or it goes until a turn where a certain event is activated on this board, and when that happens, that is the end of the game, and then you see who has the most points there. We were talking about the 3 phases of the game, though. The first, the French have 3 markers there representing fleets, one from Genoa, Toulon, and Civita, but only one is real, so the player should choose at the beginning which one is real, the other 2 are decoys. And then using the rules that I told you about movement, then the French player can try to move their fleet. Now, again, 1 is fake, 1 is real, and 2 are fake. The game, it says, is suitable for solitaire play, and I played it solo 2-handed. How do you do this? I guess you can ignore, you can only have 1 fleet, but I use the old other trick that even I don't know which one it is. When it matters, for example, I'm trying to debark units, or when Nelson intercepts one of the fleets, I roll a die. If there are 3 on the board, then 1 or 2, that is the real one, and the other ones are fake. Any other result that was fake and is removed. If there are only 2 on the board, I roll a die, 1, 2, 3, that is the real one, otherwise that is a fake one. So, rolling a die, pretty much, you have 33% or 66% or percentages that seem to make sense. So that's my little life hack there to solo this. So we had the phase in which the French are trying to reach and debark, or they may get caught. At some point, the events will lead to the debarkation and disembarkation phase. Pretty much, as you can see, will be triggered by one of these 3 things. If the French have been intercepted at sea, they've been intercepted while they were disembarking in Egypt, or they disembark without having been intercepted. Simply put, you follow the procedure that corresponds to the situation. And then again, you have the main phase of the game in which land troop will move on the board and will from time to time clash against each other. Remember, then we need to resolve combat. You probably want to know how that works, don't you? Here it is. So, first, for each player during combat, you will determine their total combat value. That is not just a simple amount of points that you see there. For combat value, infantry counts 1 for each point that they have, cavalry counts 2 for each that they have, and artillery counts for 3. So actually this is a strength of 14 when we are calculating combat value, because you multiply cavalry by 2. And on the other hand, suppose this is the French. Let's see if you paid attention. How much is this one? Exactly 11, because artillery is 3 per point. So what you do, you place a marker, one for the French, one for the ally, under the column representing the strength, the combat value that you calculated, in the line corresponding the commander. So the French will always use this one. We said it's 11, so I'm going to place that marker there. For the Allies, suppose we were talking about a strength of 14, I believe, and we're looking at Ottoman commanders or British under siege, then 14, I place it here. If it had been the same strength but for Mamluk commander, then I would have placed it here. As you can see, there are different things that happen. I think you know what happens now. We apply our universal method of rolling dice, re-rolling, spending glory points of the commanders, and looking for 5s or 6s. And so we roll 4 dice for each side. This is for the Allies. This is for the French. Suppose that I force my opponent to reroll that one, and that's what they get. They force me to reroll that one, but boo for them, I get this one instead. And so, first, you check if you hit at all, if you do damage at all. The big number that you see in each box is the total you need to achieve in order to score hits at all. So, for example, suppose that I had a 6. For the French, a 6, but a 1, a 1, and a 1. The total would be 9. That's a complete miss. Even though I have 6s, that would be a complete miss. But in this case, 10, 15, I have as much, at least what was needed there, 10. At that point, if I reach that total, then I look at what it says here, the number of hits. For example, and again, the French hit really hard. A single hit on a 6 causes 6 losses to the opponent. For our Mamluk commander, the total is 14, and so yeah, they miss. That's it. Even though they have 6s, they don't get to apply them at all. But suppose with a little bit of help from the gods. Oh, there you go. Now they have enough. And now what they do, each 6 is 1 hit that they apply on the enemy. And so you probably already figured it out, even just by looking at this table, that the way it works is that because of command, equipment, and various factors, the French hit really hard, hit really often. They don't need a lot of people to cause a lot of damage, as opposed to the Ottomans and the Mamluks. They have a lot more. They have more troops, huge groups in fact, but they just don't do quite as much. Luckily enough, they can often take a lot of damage without losing a lot of attacking power, I guess because they don't have a lot to start with. So this is the general idea. I mentioned briefly events. It's worth looking at them a little bit more here, because at the beginning of each turn you will roll on the event table. At the beginning of the game you roll only 1 die, and you only activate events in the top column. Also, unless the event has an R indicated there, once it is triggered, say suppose I rolled a 3 on the first turn for that event, I resolve that, and then I replace it with one of these tiles. So as you can see, I like that the events evolve as the game goes by. There are also events that will cause you to then roll 2 dice, and what is the case, you place a token as a reminder that from that moment on you will roll events with 2 dice, and guess what, an event here will unlock a 3rd and a 4th die, and so there's a tree of events that, while random, definitely has a nice structure to it, and one of these events indeed may trigger at the end of the game if neither player has achieved instant victory before then. And so, whatever happens, the player, well, either who achieves instant victory or has the most victory points at the end of the game wins the game, and victory points are based mainly on control of locations on the board, plus a couple of other things, such as for the French having a garrison in Malta, or for the French being able to escort the savants to the Valley of the Kings. This is in essence how you play Bonaparte's Eastern Empire. I like this game, and something I don't say very often, I like this new word game system. Again, because I've become increasingly lazy about learning new systems. But one where you have one simple main idea that then is applied to many different things, I can get behind that. Now, I'm not entirely completely sold on the 3 or 2.5 act drama. I think that maybe the approach to the land could have been simplified or removed or resolved with a die roll, something like that. Maybe offer different scenarios, and right there you just start from different situations while you are working on the land. But that's no big deal. That's just my preference the way. Maybe I'll figure out those starting scenarios. But definitely when the game gets to the main phase, which is the land battles, with yes, the possibility of maybe moving things by ship. See, I think again that's more fun when it's integrated with the land actions. When it gets to the land action, then it's really impressive that you do have this completely completely asymmetrical conflict, which is rendered so simply and so intuitively. Again, these large masses of Ottoman forces that have the advantage of numbers, but they cannot hit very hard against the French, who are in very small groups, but they can deal a lot of damage. However, in the long run, sooner or later, chipping here, chipping there, a paper cut here, a paper cut there, those forces will get reduced, and so it'll become increasingly tough for the French to split forces, to occupy different things, as they move on to the map, trying to take control of more regions, more areas. They need to leave garrisons behind. So then the loss of a single French infantry can become quite tragic. The events play beautifully into that, again, with unpredictable things, reinforces coming at different times. Yes, the plague hitting various players. I like the asymmetry of the system, and again, I play both sides, so I could really appreciate that. And I like the simplicity and elegance, it really makes sense, and I like how the game captures this idea of a bird's eye view. It really is commander driven. You really have the sense that, well, indeed, it's you have the commanders right there, you see their faces, or their caricature at least. You have their glory points, and you choose when to spend them, you detach them, you send them to do different ways. There really is this strong emphasis on command in terms of morale and effectiveness. And I think that is done, again, very, very effectively. And in that, also, you have the sense of progressing deterioration, just like the large armies of the Ottomans start falling apart, and then they can't put together any decent attack, just like the French are still strong, but each individual piece that they lose causes them to become a little more concerned. So you see both sides deteriorating in the battlefield, so you see the glory of the commanders going down, and so their capability of influencing things being reduced. There is a nice sense of impending doom, which is good in game design because it keeps things interesting and exciting. But there is definitely a nice sense of impending doom for both sides. Well, originally the French are going to feel very cool and neat, but then in the long run, the Allies will have good chances of making them pay for their initial arrogance, or for, in any case, to slow them down and to make things extremely tough and unpleasant for them. So I think this is a remarkable design. It's fun to play, captures a lot of history in a really cool system. I can't wait to see this system applied to different kind of historical situations. And I hope the next installments will be even simpler, even easier. So this game is easier than a lot of other war games, but still has all different rules about the lands and the disembarkment and the capturing of the fake fleets and the Bedouins, etc., etc., etc. I hope that the next one is distilled even more so that it becomes even more mainstream and can be played by even more players. But for people who are interested in historical war games, this is an innovative take on the representation of conflict in a game, and it is definitely a fun design.